Vanakkam everyone, I am Gomes. I have completed my Redhat Openshift certification EX180, EX280 and EX380. In this session, I'll share my experience and how you can prepare for taking EX280 certification. But please note, I won't be sharing any actual exam questions as per the NDA signed. To start with, let me give a couple of pointers. One, for copy and paste options, right click will not work. Use Ctrl+Shift+C for copy, Ctrl+Shift+V for paste. Redhat Openshift official documentation will be shared in exam. Now let's take a deep dive. Let's see around 12 pointers. So the first pointer would be practice the Redhat Openshift guided exercise given in each chapters twice or even more than that. All the questions in the exam will be from the guided exercise. See, understand the logic during your training, which will help you in the exam. For an example, most of the time, due to nervousness or panic, students tend to memorize a command, sequence it, and finally gets mixed up. See, instead, understand the basic logic. Example, see, the pod must be running. When you expose the pod, the service gets created. When you expose a service, a route gets created. When you have a route in place, you will have a host name. If you copy the host name and put it in the browser, it should work fine. So just go through this way so that you will feel ease when you write the exam. Pointer 2, take first 5 to 10 minutes to read the important instructions page. This page will contain clear instructions on server password, kubeadmin password, server details, API URL and a link to Redhat Openshift documentation. At times my students have told that, hey Gomes, I was unable to open the documentation during the exam. See, in case if you are unable to open the documentation, please ping the proctor immediately. Tell him that, hey, I am unable to open this, kindly assist. So they will help you. You can't ask technical questions, rather you can ask these sort of questions. Pointer 3, the Redhat official documentation navigation given in the exam will not be similar to what you navigate normally. See, normal circumstance, when you open your Redhat Openshift documentation, right, you have a search button, you have all the table of contents in the left side. So you can navigate through the topics, and in the right side you can find the details like this, right? But when it comes to exam, when you open the Redhat Openshift documentation, you will find only the table of contents in the entire page. You won't have any search button also. Each and every table of content can be opened either in PDF or HTML file. So you'll have to click on that, and then again you won't find the search button. Instead, you can go for Ctrl+F. You put in the keyword, then you can search for it. So my recommendation is, even before going for the exam, you navigate the documentation properly, mainly the headings, okay, where it is. For example, if you are looking for limit range, you should note that limit range is within the topic called node. If you are looking for authentication or adding a role, it is inside the content called authentication and authorization. So such sort of navigations, you just go through once or twice so that your exam time can be used properly. Pointer number 4, do not spend time in writing the YAML. Rather, save time by copy pasting the YAML from the documentation. Okay. For an example, let's say you have a limit range questions. Don't sit and write the entire limit range manually. Rather, you just open the documentation, you have the limit range stuff, you just copy the YAML, put it here. But make sure that when you copy paste, your indentation is right. You have to align accordingly and save it. Or the other option is, you have OpenShift console as well. So you can even create your limit range in the console also, where the predefined YAML is already there, right? Point number 5, with respect to commands, use help option or user documentation. Okay, use whenever you run. For example, you are asked to add a role. So OC admin policy -mn help, OC create route -mn help, or press double tab. That too will give you the options. Point number 6. Not all the questions are sequenced. You can skip questions and do the next, but read the questions properly. See if they are dependent or not. At times what happens is, only if you attend question number 1, you can go for question 2. You can't directly switch on to question 2. But it's not that all the questions are sequenced. So read the questions properly and then move forward. Point number 7. Time is a key, yes, for all the certification. Make sure you don't spend much time on the same question. As I said, you would rather read the questions properly and skip it, okay, and do the next. Then revisit that question again. Pointer 8. OpenShift console can be used instead of running the commands. Okay, but if you are going to use your console, make sure you have practiced how to navigate the console. Don't do it for the first time in the exam, which will consume lots of time. Pointer number 9. With respect to validation, validation plays a major role. So most of them forgot to validate the answer by running relevant commands. Example, check if the pod is running. Check if the URL is working fine or not. Okay, do all these due diligence. Point number 10. For applicable questions, make sure the application is working fine, which means that get the host name from the route, put it in the browser to check if it is working fine or not. If it is not working, go back to troubleshooting, fix it, come back and check it again. Pointer number 11. Do not run any lab command or source command in exam. Okay, see, when we practice in our Red Hat lab, we tend to use the lab command and source command which is available in the gated exercise. So these commands are not required in the exam. Okay, I'm telling this because most of my students used to ask this, Holmes, do I need to start with running the lab command or source command? No, those are specific to lab alone. Finally, the scoring part. There is no way to find which question carries the highest score. So treat all the questions the same. So the scoring is being done at 5 major categories. Manage OpenShift container platform, manage users and policies, control access to resources, configure networking components, configure pod schedule. Okay. Finally, before we end up, let me quickly show you a small pod on validation. So for an example, let's say I'm just deploying an application, OC, new app, and I'm using Hello World Nginx as my application name. So I'll hit enter. So this will deploy my application. So now I'll check OC get pods. Make sure that your application is running. In case if your application is having some other issues like crash load back off or image load back off or pending, you need to go and verify that. OC get deployment, OC get servers, and OC describe server's name. Make sure your endpoints are available. It should not say as none. You should have a endpoint. Then OC get route. So if you do not have a route, it means that you need to expose your servers. It depends, read your question properly and then do all these. So your route gets created. Now check your route. You will find this host name, right? This is a host name. So I'll copy this host name, open a browser, paste this, enter. You should be able to see this. Done. So make sure that you do all these due diligence, make sure the application is working fine, and then we are good to go. Okay. Thank you all. Bye bye.